Hello guys and girls, and welcome to today's lesson. Super exciting because last week we finished up talking about main ideas, so we took the main idea test, and now we are moving on to something new. This week we are going to be talking about the topic of summarizing. So as always, whenever we start a new unit, we always want to talk about our learning objective. This is like the goal, the thing that we are trying to accomplish by the time we get done with this unit. Here's what we want you to be able to do. I can compose, that means I can write a summary that states the key points of the text, so the most important parts of the text, without adding my own opinions or my own feelings. Okay, so I have a question that I want you to think about before we get started. I would like to know, what do you already know about summarizing? And you might be thinking, I don't know anything about summarizing, but that's actually not true because last week you all watched a quick Edpuzzle video that talked about some things that go along with summarizing. So I want you to think back, use your background knowledge, use that big old brain of yours, and I want you to tell me, what do you already know about summarizing? Okay, let's talk about what summarizing actually is. A good definition for a summary is a short, I know you guys are going to like that part, a short, objective explanation of a text. Objective means it's not going to have any opinions in it. So if you read something, you might think, I really like that text, or I really hated that text. You're not telling me that in a summary. It's objective, so there's no opinions. And then the part I know that you guys are really going to like is that summaries are meant to be short. Okay, sometimes we're going to read really long passages, and if I ask you to summarize it, I don't want a really long summary. I want a short summary. And we'll talk a little bit more in just a second about how long your summary should be. When we summarize, there are 5 rules that we always want to make sure that we follow. And I'm going to give you guys a little hint here. If I were you, I would maybe jot down a few notes as we're going through this. Make sure that you write down what the 5 rules are and what they mean. And since this is a video, you can always pause the video to take a few minutes to write these things down. Our first rule of summarizing is to include keywords. We've talked about keywords before. We practiced finding them when we were looking for the main idea of a text. So when you're writing your summary, just like when we were writing our main ideas, you want to make that list of keywords and you want to make sure that you include those keywords in your summary. Make sure when you include your keywords, you're looking for words that are emphasized or repeated in the passage. And like we talked about with main idea, words like a, is, the, those words are going to be repeated in passages, but they are not keywords. Keywords are the important words in the text. Oftentimes they're going to be repeated, so make sure you're looking for those. The next rule of writing a summary is that there should not be any personal opinions. We talked about this a little bit with our definition that we talked about just a second ago. Summaries are supposed to be objective. They should not have any opinions. So when we're looking at your summaries, we don't want to see words like I feel, I think, I believe, I liked this, I hated this. No personal opinions. And I always like to give this example because I think it's really relevant to people in our state. I always have some students that really love the University of Kentucky. They bleed blue, they love UK. And then I have other students who are huge Cards fans. They love U of L, they are huge Cardinal fans. Okay, so let's say that I gave you an article about an upcoming basketball game between U of L and UK. You might be tempted to tell me how much you love UK, or how much you hate UK, or how much you love U of L, or how much you hate U of L in your summary. But remember, a summary is not a place for that. No personal opinions. Okay, next, stay true to the original text. Here's what that means. When you're writing a summary, you don't want to include any extra information that was not already in the passage. So let me go back to that example that we were talking about just a second ago. If I give you an article about the UK U of L basketball game, if you are a huge UK fan, you might know tons of information about the players on the team or the coach, and it might be tempting to write some of that in your summary. But remember, when we summarize, we are staying true to the text. We're not adding any information. We are only talking about what was in the passage. Next part, and this is the rule that middle schoolers usually love, keep it short. Summaries are not supposed to be long. For the most part, we're going to look for about 3 to 5 sentences. So about a paragraph that tells me what the story, what the passage was about. So if you think back to our unit on main idea, we talked about topic. Remember, that's 1 or 2 words that tells what the passage was about. Then we talked about main idea, which is 1 or 2 sentences that tells what the passage is about. And now we're moving on to summaries. And summaries are going to be 3 to 5 sentences telling you what the passage was about. Last but not least, in summaries, you should paraphrase. That means you're going to take the information from the passage and you are going to put it in your own words. And when you're summarizing, you don't want to include every single little detail that was in the passage. You're trying to just give me an overall picture and overall description of what the text was about. I know some of you all are going to be really excited about this one too, because we have been talking a lot about race, and when we use the C in race, we've talked about citing textual evidence and how it needs to be word for word from the text. When you're summarizing, I actually don't want anything word for word from the text. I don't want to see any quotation marks. I want everything to be in your own words. Okay, so now that we've talked about the 5 rules of summarizing, we're going to look at an example together. And we're going to read this article about cockroaches. And you're going to see that some things are highlighted. So as we're going through this, I'll talk about why these things are highlighted. This passage is called Cockroaches. People don't think too highly of cockroaches. There's something about their long antennae and quick movements that make them easy to mistrust. Yet, unlike spiders, wasps, or ticks, most roaches are not a threat to people. So, why do we hate cockroaches so much? It could be because there are so many of them. The number of cockroaches in the world is constantly increasing because they reproduce very quickly. There are about 3,500 different kinds of cockroaches in the world. The only place cockroaches are not found is the polar ice caps. We could hate cockroaches because they're hard to kill. Some types of roaches are able to resist poisons that are made to kill them. They also move quickly. Some adult cockroaches can run up to 2 miles per hour. Although this might not sound very fast, consider this. If cockroaches were the size of lions, they would be able to run 50 miles an hour. It could be because we know they will probably outlast us. Cockroaches have survived for 320 million years. That is much older than humans. It's even older than dinosaurs. Cockroaches have existed from before dinosaurs were around until dinosaurs went extinct, all the way up until today. But none of those reasons really explains why most people hate cockroaches. Most people hate them because they just look creepy. The next time you feel this way, keep in mind that it could be worse. Most cockroaches in America are less than 1 inch long. One type of cockroach found in Borneo grows to more than 4 inches long. Now that's creepy. Okay, so we talked about all the different rules of summarizing. And now we're going to talk about what actually needs to go in your summary. And when we're summarizing, we're going to look for the main parts of the story. So we're going to answer the who, what, when, where, and why of the article. And we're going to make sure that is included in our summary. So thinking about what we just read, who is this passage about? If we go back to the article, it tells us right here, the very first word, we're talking about people in general. So we're not talking about a specific person, but just people all over. That's who this passage is about. Now we want to know, what is this passage about? So what do we know about people? If we go back to our text, it tells us right here in the very first paragraph, people hate cockroaches. So our what is people hate cockroaches. Now we're going to move on to our where. Where does this take place? If we go back to the article here in blue, we know that this pretty much happens everywhere. Cockroaches exist everywhere except for the polar ice caps. So if we go to our where, practically everywhere except for the polar ice caps. When does or did this take place? If we look here in orange, cockroaches have survived for 320 million years. So our when is a very long time, 320 million years. And why do people hate cockroaches so much? Well, the article gives us several reasons. They're underlined in red. Cockroaches are hard to kill, they move quickly, they're probably going to live longer than us, and they just look creepy. So, again, why do we hate cockroaches? They're hard to kill, they move quickly, they're going to outlast humans, and they're creepy. So now that we have found the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why of the article, we're going to take all these things and put them together in 3 to 5 sentences that tells what the passage was about. So here's an example. People hate cockroaches for several reasons. So there's our who, people, and our what, they hate cockroaches. They can survive practically everywhere in the world and reproduce quickly. So this is our where, everywhere in the world. And then here's our why. Why do people hate cockroaches? They're hard to kill because they move fast and their bodies can resist poison. Their species is older than humans, so there's our when, but mostly people hate them because they are creepy. Okay, so if we look here, this was our original passage. It was 5 paragraphs. We answered the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why, and we put that all together in just a few sentences. Guys and girls, that concludes our introduction to summarizing. We're going to be talking about more of this over the next coming days, and we'll be doing some practice. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.